In this video, we're going to be talking about the vital role comfort plays in getting more people to stop and talk to you. Hey, what's up guys? Jules here. Now, if you watched part 1 in this little stopping series I'm creating here, you would know that the two main reasons that I discussed people don't more readily stop and talk to fundraisers ultimately comes down to comfort and convenience. Now, we're going to be looking at convenience in the next part, but in this video, I really want to talk about the role of comfort and just why it is so important to understand in order to get into more conversations. So what does this have to do with stopping? Ultimately, this comes down to our human condition. You know, we're all trying to get away from uncomfortable, difficult situations and experiences and have more joyful, pleasurable ones. Right? Ultimately, that's what we're all trying to do as human beings. And no doubt you'll understand, grasp that it's not the most comfortable thing to stop and talk to a fundraiser. Certainly, it's much more comfortable just to keep on walking by. So if this is the case, it's no doubt that, people don't want to speak to a fundraiser. Now, why exactly is it not comfortable? Well, there's a whole bunch of reasons. They might have had a bad experience with a fundraiser or salesperson in the past. They might be a little bit socially awkward, not likely talking to strangers. They don't know who we are, how we're going to talk to them, how we're going to engage, what our demeanor is, what our character is. But ultimately, I think the biggest reason is that they anticipate we're going to ask them for money. They know that we're fundraising. They know we're going to ask them for money, and they don't want to part with their hard-earned cash. Now, if you're walking past a salesperson or talking to a salesperson, it's actually not that difficult to say, no, thank you, not today. I don't need one of those. But it's extra uncomfortable with fundraisers because I think ultimately people know, they realize somewhere deep inside of them, even if it's not conscious, that the cause is probably a good thing. It's probably doing good work. It's probably worthy of supporting. They might even feel or know in themselves that they could do more, they should do more, they want to do more. But this is rubbing up against the other part of them that wants to keep their money, that doesn't want to give it away. And so there's this friction, this internal friction with their values and this desire not to spend money, not to give money away. And this is creating, what's often called cognitive dissonance, this friction inside us. And so it's no surprise that people don't want to engage with the fundraiser and feel this way. It's not a comfortable thing to feel. So then the question is, how do we make it more comfortable for people to talk to us? Now, what I'd love you to do is just take a moment, even if you want to pause this video, and just think for a second, what is it about a conversation or an interaction with another person that makes it enjoyable, that makes it comfortable, that makes it easygoing, that feels good to you? Now, even if you couldn't pinpoint exactly what that was, ultimately what I believe makes a conversation more comfortable is what I call our internal states. Now, I just use this as a term to talk to, our mindset, our attitude, our mood, our vibes, our emotions, our energy, all these things that come from within inside us, right? When we are in a calm state, when we are relaxed, when we are passionate, when we are confident, when we're feeling good and joyful, ultimately these impact the way we show up in the world, right? These impact our body language, our tone of voice, the words we end up choosing. I call these your signals, right? The signals that you're giving off to the world, versus when you're feeling anxious, nervous, desperate, needy, frustrated, sad, depressed, insecure perhaps. These all signal different things to the world. They don't make you comfortable to engage with. If you think of someone that you've ever engaged with that is, nervous, awkward, not feeling confident, feeling insecure, or maybe even someone who's angry, it's really not a comfortable thing to do. And with fundraising, and particularly when we're stopping, it's a very visual thing, right? People are seeing us from a distance. They're looking and seeing us probably before they hear us or engage with us. And as a human species, we're kind of wired to be on the lookout for danger, for threats. Now, obviously, in this day and age, we're not worried about lions and tigers in the bushes, but anything that is going to be uncomfortable, anything we perceive as a threat, as dangerous, and really that often just comes down to what feels uncomfortable, doesn't feel good inside, we want to avoid. So it's obvious that people, as they're walking towards us, if we are in a negative state, we're not going to be signaling, safety, comfort, ease, joy, enjoyment. It's going to be quite the opposite. So it's not that we're not likely to stop and engage with people, but we're actually actively repelling people if we're in a negative state. So being in a good state, being in a positive internal state is probably the most powerful thing that you can do for your fundraising, because it doesn't just affect your stopping, right? Your internal state affects the way you build rapport, the way you tell the story, the way you talk about the organization, the passion you have, the way that you're engaging in that sense, your call to action, so the way that you ask, you close, the way you objection handle. Every single part of your face-to-face fundraising process has a huge impact by your state, by your signals, by your body language, your tone, your words. This has a huge impact. And so taking care of your internal state is probably one of the most powerful and important things you can do. Furthermore, it's important because it feels good, right? It feels good to be in a good state. It feels good to be relaxed, to be calm, to feel confident, right? When we're feeling anxious, nervous, and all these negative emotions I mentioned, this doesn't feel good, right? This is stressful. This is anxiety inducing, and ultimately it's no fun to be fundraising feeling this way. So really prioritizing your internal state is going to be tremendously impactful for your fundraising. And I'm not saying that you need to be a beaming ray of light and joy every moment of every day. That's not reasonable, but really prioritizing your state is certainly a really great thing to do. And it's definitely what I coach my teams, fundraisers I work with and coach and train, that if you can look after your internal state first and foremost, then the other things will come much easier. One of the things that I mentioned in the previous video was the frame of seeing stopping as a way to develop your skills. So if you detach yourself from the outcome of needing to get a sign up and a yes, and you just see it as practice, this can really help you remain in a good state. Furthermore, some other things that you might want to look into, and I'm going to talk a lot more about internal states and these techniques and strategies in the future, but just to give you a little bit of a taster, things like your morning routine, right? Your physical and mental well-being, right? So this might be the sleep that you're getting, the energy you're giving yourself through food or through a bit of movement or exercise. This might be, visualization exercises. I take regular reset breaks every couple of hours fundraising, which is just literally 1 or 2 minutes just to recenter myself and get myself back into a high state. And all these little things, if you prioritize yourself, prioritize your state, and really try and not worry about what the outcome is going to be, you will find that things will flow much better. You will enjoy yourself, and ultimately you will be a lot more successful in your fundraising. And just before I end, I'm going to give you one more tip that's more practical. And this is something that I use with huge success and encourage you to give it a go. Now, this is going to sound a bit counterintuitive, but one of the things that I do fairly regularly is I actually tell people that they don't have to sign up. So I don't use this in every attempt that I have, but particularly works well if someone perhaps hesitates just a little bit, right? They might be a little bit interested and they kind of maybe slow down after I've sort of asked them the first time. And what I'll do is essentially say to them, look, I'm not going to bore you to death, I promise. And you don't have to sign up if you don't want to. You don't have to join us. I would just love to tell you more about our work, tell you more about what we do, the impact we have. And if you really love it and you want to join, that would be amazing. But even if you don't, you know more about us, you know more about what we do, and that would mean the world to me. So how does that sound? Sound fair? And so something like that basically removes all the pressure for them to feel like, oh, I have to sign up. How am I going to say no without feeling bad? What's the excuse I'm going to give? I don't want to be in that situation. And actually allows them to go, okay, I'll hear you out. I'll listen. There's no pressure on them to actually support. And this not only gets people to more readily stop and talk to me, but actually it engages people more in what I'm saying, because I really believe that a lot of people, when you're pitching them, are actually not listening to you that closely, not that engaged with what you're saying, because they're probably in their head some of the time at least thinking, how am I going to get out of this? What am I going to say at the end? What's the excuse I'm going to give? And they're not really listening that closely to what you're saying. And so if you are removing some of the pressure to sign up, they're more likely to be engaged with what you're actually saying. They're more likely to stop in the first place, as I mentioned, and your chances of signing people up are much, much higher. In fact, I probably would say I sign up a majority of people that stop this way. So it does not impact the conversion rate of those people, but just helps people feel more relaxed when they're talking to you. So as I said, I'm going to create a lot more content on internal state and a lot more strategies just like this one. But I hope this has been helpful. I hope this makes sense to you. And I hope you find ways to prioritize your state and you see the incredible impact that has on your fundraising. So if you enjoyed this video, if you found it useful, I would love it if you would share this with another fundraising friend. I would love it if you would comment, even ask me, is there a particular thing, topic, idea, problem that you have as a fundraiser that you'd love me to create a video on. I would love it if you would subscribe to the channel. That way you'll get my videos when they come out. I'm going to try and be more consistent with creating these videos. I want to try and create one a week. And yeah, I just want to provide more value, help you out. I want to create the content I would have loved when I was, fundraising full time. And yeah, so that's it for this video. Until next time, stay inspired and keep fundraising.